We are at Shenango Valley Cemetery in Greenville, Mercer County, Pennsylvania. And this is my second visit to my great-great-great-grandfather John Long Sr.'s grave. Had a little easier time finding him this time. As Uncle Don and my dad remember, it was a long process before. Not even the caretaker knew where this was. And since he fought in the War of 1812, he's guaranteed to have a flag up during holidays such as Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Very fitting that the bell is tolling right now from the local college here. So his grave would have been upright and it probably just fell back. But he was born in 1790 in Pittsburgh and died in 1873. And he was married to Agnes Long, who I think might be buried underneath the ground here someplace. I don't know. But the fact that this grave is by itself, it seems very weird, doesn't it? That there's no other graves here. He's the only one. There's no grave within, I would say nearest grave is 25 feet away. So this must have been a special gravesite here. Maybe one of the originals. We're finding other graves next to John. That looks too small for, I found that with this probe. The caretaker, Dave, who helped us 2 years ago, they're going to get some water and wash it off. I think there's maybe another slab where this probe is. So I just want to find his wife, Agnes. I think she's got to be here. That would be my great-great-great-grandmother Long. So we don't know who this is. The fact that it's small, it might have been an infant or something, but who knows. Interesting though, huh? Yeah, so Jack the gravedigger here. Just across from James Long Sr.'s grave in Shenango Valley Cemetery is the grave of his daughter Lydia Shakely, who was married to James Shakely, who was a 2-year-long U.S. congressman and governor of the Alaska Territory from, I believe it was 1893 to 1897. That was just the start of the gold rush. That's all right. Okay, these are the Williamsons, and the two Williamsons I'm most interested in are these two, Elizabeth and John. John is my great-great-great-great-grandfather, and his daughter Agnes married John Long Sr., my great-great-great-grandfather. And this is my great-great-great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth Williamson, who lived from 1765 to 1843. And she was the mother of Agnes Williamson, who was the wife of John Long Sr. and the mother of John Long Jr., who was Otis Long's father. I hope you understand that. So we have some more Longs here. This is the David and Eliza Long. This would be the brother of John Long Jr. So this David Long would have been an uncle of Otis Long. No. Yes, he would have been uncle of Otis Long. So David Long lived from 1818 to 1894. Eliza Long, I think she was a Limber. That was her maiden name, Limber. She lived from 1822 to 1911. Okay. And then we have the individual stones here of others. These are all probably related to the Longs here. What's that one? That's not a Long there, is it? No.
Why this one is 4? They have 4 names. Does that mean there's 4 people over here?
Yeah, I believe John T. Long would have probably been the son of David Long, another John Long.
Well, I think this was a baby. This was a 2-year-old. Anna L.
There's
Long,
Anna Long.
1851 to 1853.
Yes, okay.
So 2 years old.
So let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This one only, yeah. Well, he lived to be 27, but quite early.
A lot of Johns
Yeah.
in your family.
Okay, we are at the Old Methodist Church Cemetery in Sugarloaf Township in Mercer County. And again, here is John Riley. We were here with my dad a little over 2 years ago. He is my 4 times great-grandfather. I believe he died in 1864. And this is his wife, Barbara, spelled Barbary for some reason. And John was a farmer, but he was also a part-time preacher at this very church over here. You got some very old gravestones here. So this is related through the Longs, but this is probably one of 10 direct ancestors that I have discovered, and there's probably a lot more in this area. So, would you like to say anything, Mrs. Long? No? No? Look at the old house over here. This is Leach's Corner up here. That's very famous. You know, the trees are just starting to turn color. So these are my great-grandparents, John Long Jr. and Louisa Long. Louisa's maiden name was Lewis, and we're going to see the Lewises in the same cemetery. This is the Stevenson Cemetery. It has, I believe, 4 generations of my ancestors here. It goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War times. Now, that's a very pretty stone. We're going to walk around here, Michelle, and then I'm going to show you these 2 stones here. Next to them is Lewis Long. This is the oldest son of John Jr. and Louisa Long. He's the last one that would have worked the farm here in Pennsylvania. He died in 1934. We think my dad saw him when my dad was very young. He came to visit him when he lived in Greenville, Illinois. So this would have been my, I got to think now. This would have been my grandpa's uncle and my dad's great uncle. This is kind of sad. This is Jay Long. He was born probably 2 or 3 years before the family left to first live in Kansas and then ultimately to Oklahoma, where they took part in 2 land rushes, one in 1889, one in 1893. Louisa Long, John Long Jr.'s wife, and Jay and Lewis came back to Pennsylvania. I don't know what the circumstances were maybe the wife was all stressed out from the deaths of 5 of 7 children. Who knows? Well, actually 4. My great-grandfather, Otis Long, didn't die till 1914. And that was the impetus for his dad, who was living with him in Oklahoma, because he was estranged from his wife for quite a few years, going back to Pennsylvania, and ultimately he and his wife were buried together in the same gravesite. So J. Long died, I believe, at age 17. He was the youngest of 7 children. So they probably had a lot of, possibly a lot of the impetus for maybe he was sickly and his mom decided to take him back to Pennsylvania. I don't know what this gravestone is here, if this has anything to do. This says Mary Ann, but the fact that it's right alongside the Longs makes me wonder that maybe if she's not a relation, maybe I should clean that stone up. So I cleaned the stone so you can read it. It says wife of John Sisley. Her name was Mary. Looks like she was born in about 1852, something like that. She lived to be 30 years, 5 months. But I don't know if she's a relation, but it seems weird that she's really buried alongside of all the Longs here. So I don't know. Maybe she's a relation of some kind. I really don't know. Here are all the birds there. Within about 60 square feet of this cemetery lie 3 generations of our ancestors. The earliest, well, not the earliest, the closest to us are the Lindsays. The Lindsays would be, my great-great-grandparents. Is that right? No, they would be my great-great-great-grandparents. So here's Lewis Lindsay, born 1808, died in 1890. And then Margaret Lindsay, who is the daughter of John Riley and Barbara Riley that we saw at the Salem Old Methodist Church Cemetery. This is his wife. So she was born a Riley. So their child, Louisa, was my Grandpa Long's grandma. Okay, she was the one that was Otis's mom, Otis Long's mom. Okay, so this is generation 1, the Lindsays. The next generation are over here. And these are probably the earliest white settlers in this part of Pennsylvania. William Lindsay and Elizabeth Lindsay. And Elizabeth was a Rogers, and her dad is Robert Morgan Roberts. See if you can see this. It's a very old stone. You can see that she died at age 42. She's born, I believe, in 1770 and died in 1813. She was a very saintly woman, took care of the poor, fed anybody, would hand out clothes to anybody that needed it, would put them up. If this was a really, this was the latest part of Pennsylvania that was settled, and it was wild. There was no provision, so there was a lot of people hurting that tried to settle this area, and they would be of hunger and no clothes, and she would take care of them. And William Lindsay was the original settler in this area. And the story is, I guess, that he went on an initial expedition, and I think it was 1798, and he was the one that stayed behind in a cabin that was built, and everyone left, and he was at the point of starving to death, and all of a sudden one day he looks out his window and see the Rogers family, Robert Morgan Roberts, and I guess a couple of his sons and his daughter Elizabeth. And he ended up marrying Elizabeth. Okay, she was older than he by, I believe, about 10 or 11 years. But he outlived her despite that even. So you can see where all the flags are over here. That's Robert Morgan Roberts. That's gentleman that fought in Washington's Continental Army. Now, you can see that it shows that he was born in 1730. We think he was born probably, I think it was about maybe 1743, not 1730, but it is possible, but all likelihood he was born later than that. And these are two plaques that the U.S. military has put up in honor of Revolutionary War soldiers. So thank heavens we have that. His wife died at an earlier age. I think she is buried back east, maybe in Virginia. So the flag was already up from the cemetery. They put that up, but I put two more up just to kind of highlight the fact that there's not too many of these guys that fought in Washington's army in this cemetery. So anyway, that's that. Near the Long home site in Salem, Mercer County, Pennsylvania. You're just starting to see some leaves change. This is the boundary for Salem. This is most likely the Long homestead in Salem Township, Mercer County, Pennsylvania. Knocked on the door. The new owner is not home. I guess the old man probably sold or is no longer with us. So you can see it's the structure itself, the brick part of it, looks like a pretty old structure here. I can walk around here so you can see. I hope I don't get shot, but I don't think he's home. So this is it. This is our motel in Greenville, Pennsylvania. We're at the back of the motel. They have a nice grass area in the forest and a picnic area. I guess deer come out here on a regular basis. So we're kind of looking for them. Sun's just about ready to go down there. We are at the Hadley Cemetery in Mercer County, Pennsylvania. I found another grave of one of John Long Sr.'s children, and that was Emmeline. Emmeline Long married James Beatty. He would have been her second marriage, because she first married a gentleman by the name of Brown, and I believe she has a Leander Brown, who's her son, that's buried here. So James Beatty lived 1814 to 1894, and then we're going to go down here and see Emmeline Beatty Brown. See, she lived from 1823 to 1908. So she was 2 years older than her brother John Long Jr., my great-great-grandfather. Now I think Leander Brown, this is her son by her first marriage. He was born in 1850 to 1928. I think he would be something like a first cousin 3 times removed, something like that. Spent a long time looking for this. I couldn't figure out which side of it. See, the trees are just starting to change color here. We're in a state park north of Jamestown, Pennsylvania, Just taking a little walk. The leaves are just starting to turn here in a week or two. It'll be really pretty. Unfortunately, we'll be in Canada or Minnesota by that time.
Okay.
Here we are at the Mercer County Courthouse in the city of Mercer, Pennsylvania. I was just in there, went to the deed department and got a copy of 4 deeds of our long ancestors' land deeds, starting from about 1857 to about 1872. We're going to walk around town here. Very historical. This is the county seat of Mercer County, needless to say. See all these old houses. Greenville is like this, only this is maybe a little more quaint even than Greenville. There's nothing down here, huh? Well, you mind walking around, then we'll go get something to eat? Well, John Long Sr.'s over on that side of the hill. Can't see my car. Parked down below the hill there. And we just found a 3rd child, a 3rd daughter of John Long Sr., who I just got the copy of his obituary. He died under mysterious circumstances, evidently drowned in the water underneath his mill. They don't know if it was an accident or what happened, but anyway, this Susan Long is my great aunt. Okay, and she's 4 years older than my great grandfather John Long Jr., who is of course her brother. And then Susan's daughters, she has Agnes here, named after her mom. Lived 1859 to 1944, and there's another daughter, Clara, over here. The fact that there's no mention of a last name, evidently maybe they weren't ever married. So this one lived from 1846 to 1932. So these are all our relatives here. And then William Acker was Susan's husband. It's kind of a weird spelling of Acker. You can see father and mother here.